This is going to be your guide for using Barraskewda in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now the first thing I want to talk about with this Pokemon are the stats, because it really shows power creep in a subtle way. Remember back in Generation 4 when this was like the limit of what Game Freak would do with a sweeping Pokemon? 120 attack, 125 speed. That's about as far as they wanted to push it back in the day, and even then, since Weavile, we haven't seen too many Pokemon that have a high attack and a high speed. Then Barraskewda just exists. Higher attack, much higher speed, and it gets put into a really interesting speed tier, especially without Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolutions were kind of the way of saying, alright, you don't get an item, but here's all of your crazy sweeping stats. Now without Megas, Barraskewda is one of the fastest Pokemon in Sword and Shield. So the only non-legendaries that are faster than it are Ninjask, Excelgor, Dragapult, that's it. 136, it just edges out the Darmanitan when it's in its Zen mode, any other like 135 speed Pokemon, and then Pokemon like Jolteon, Ice-Q, all of those get outsped as well. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up first, like, okay, this is going to be the starting point of Barraskewda, since it gets kind of weird from there. Now it does have a new ability, Propeller Tail. Ignores the effects of opposing Pokemon's moves and abilities that can redirect targets. So this is really good for Storm Drain, like if there's an anti-rain team Pokemon that wants like Storm Drain off the Barraskewda and then keep another Pokemon safe, nah, you can just like directly hit it with a water type move, so that's kind of nice. And then, I don't know, Rage Powder, that's not really a thing because there's no Amoonguss in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then Follow Me, like, it's a neat idea, but I don't think it's, like, that high of priority. The biggest thing about Barraskewda is the Swift Swim. Now, you're already a super fast Pokemon, but Swift Swim with the speed just means that Barraskewda now becomes a terrifying Pokemon. So, the first thing we need to do is figure out how to get Rain on our side, and that usually comes from Pelipper. Pelipper comes in, Drizzle activates, and there's a few things you can do with it, because Pelipper is actually dangerous as well. Like, you hit a Hurricane, you hit a Hydro Pump, that's going to be a lot of damage, especially like Hydro Pump, Modest Nature, under Rain, that hurts. Also has Knockoff, so it just outspeeds a slow Pokemon and then removes like Eviolite from Corsola. That's bad. Like, it can get rid of a leftovers, it can get rid of meaningful items, or it can just set up a Tailwind. Like, okay, Drizzle, Tailwind, next, free, GG easy. Once we're on that Focus Sash, so a faster Pokemon hits it, Pelipper's fine, and then you're good to go from there. Now, sometimes you see the Damp Rock, because Pelipper just doesn't even matter. It doesn't become a part of the equation. That maybe it survives a hit. If you are going to be running the Damp Rock, then you might want to go for some more hit point investment. Just kind of like, survive something just barely, use Tailwind, maybe you outspeed them, and now you at least have set up for the next Pokemon coming in, unless it's Swift Swim, because Swift Swim is free Tailwind. There's just a lot of other weird things. So it's like you survive, you Tailwind for yourself, you now outspeed the opponent, you get that Hydro Pump in, and then Drizzle still has a lot of turns left. Or just Focus Sash, whatever. There's like a lot of different ways of running the Pelipper and setting up Rain. And now with Dynamax, you just have a Dynamax Pokemon use a water move, and now it's raining. And now Barraskewda wins because it does a lot of damage. It's going to be boosting on top of boosting on top of boosting, and then it's just good. And it also has nutty coverage, like fighting, poison, ground, it gets the Drill Run. Now, Drill Run makes sense for the theme of this Pokemon, but having Drill Run means you have a damaging option against the Toxapex at least. Instead of just getting like completely walled on that Liquidation or something, you can threaten Toxapex. That's something. That's definitely something right there. So once you figure out your Rain situation, you just slap a Choice Band on it, and then you wreck. When I say you wreck, I mean look at these damage calculations. We have the 80% chance to KO a Silvally, and the reason why I use Silvally is because it's a really good just like defensive analog that pretty much any uninvested defensive Pokemon, like your average sweeper or just an average offensive Pokemon, isn't going to be as tanky as Silvally. So if you are neutrally one-hit KOing Silvally, that is a feat, and that means you are a strong Pokemon. Now, this is including the Rain, so 50% damage boost, Choice Band does lock you, so there are drawbacks, but if you're running this, you're just mowing down everything in your way neutrally. That is very significant. And even without it, like, this is also kind of crazy. So, 123 attack, Life Orb, Liquidation, UKO Gengar. No Rain, you're just faster, UKO Gengar. So I was also looking into some of the other things you could do, like Life Orb damage trade-offs. Now, the Life Orb is going to bring significantly less damage against the, just in general, so now we're not KOing Silvally, but we do have to take in other things into consideration, because that's when you bring in Barraskewda and you just Dynamax it. So now you're not a one-shot. So without Dynamax, we still get KO'd by Life Orb sweepers, but that kind of goes away when we do Dynamax, so we only have to worry about super effective hits. Speaking of super effective hits, we're in a good place. Grass Electric. Those are weaknesses, not super common, except for Rotom, but it's not like, oh man, this is going to be everywhere, like ground-type moves or something. And then decent resistances might come into play if the opponent is choiced on something, and then you just, like, survive that hit barely as Barraskewda, and then you're good to go from there. But, I mean, if you Dynamax it, then you're bringing your own rain, and the Life Orb is going to work. So choice items don't apply when Dynamaxed, Life Orb does, so you can just, like, Life Orb, Dynamax, and then still just have a KO in rain. And without rain, it's massive amounts of damage. Now you set up your rain, now everything's getting KO'd. So any kind of existing chip damage is going to be really nice, and then once you have that rain, you just kind of tear through everything. Barraskewda gets really scary really quick on rain teams. I see it working really well in singles and doubles, because like that Swift Swim Drizzle has just been around forever, and now we have a premier sweeping Pokemon on top of it. This is your new Kingdra. Kingdra is not in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Barraskewda is still terrifying, and there's more rain access because of Dynamax. Lot of really weird and zany interactions going on over here, but also I have Poison Jab here, and you might have noticed Silvally is a fairy type. That's because I want to show you like these super effective interactions, that if your Liquidation is not resisted and it's in rain, use water moves. That is going to be more damage than a super effective move. That's just the scaling that we have, because Liquidation, same type attack boosted, 50%, another 50% from rain, boom, big damage, just like that. So I was also trying to explore other options with the Barraskewda, like what happens if you run an Adamant Nature, or what happens if you go for some other things. So Life Orb, Throat Chop, things to consider. If we have that Adamant Nature, let's go and tweak these stats a little bit and figure out where our speed lands. So our speed lands at 188. Adamant Nature means 10% damage with that Life Orb, kind of offsetting not having a choice band, still really fast, and then still finding crazy amounts of damage. So we go back over here, change that Jolly to the Adamant Nature, and boom, Liquidation finds KO ranges again. And once again, most Pokemon aren't going to be this tanky. You're just going to find some weird situations happening, so that's a good amount of speed. However, Adamant Nature puts us under 120 base speed, and I don't think that's acceptable. So all of a sudden, that long list of Pokemon that we outspeed starts to shorten quite a bit, because now we do have to worry about Jolteon. Well, that's bad, but Jolteon's 65-60, so we just outspeed and KO Jolteon as the Jolly with the Life Orb. What? What? So giving that up is kind of a bad thing. Same thing for like other random outspeeds and weird things going on. Weavile, Rabombi, Noivern, Boltown. Now it just starts sounding like a lot of Pokemon. Inteleon, Dugtrio, and then we speed tie the Cinderace, but we do outspeed the Hawlucha. So it is a trade-off that while under rain, you are still doing insane amounts of damage and just blowing up tons of Pokemon, but outside of rain, now you become slower than a lot of things. Barraskewda should pretty much only be used with rain. Like, at least if you have a Pokemon that's going to, like, Dynamax, and then maybe on its last turn Dynamax, it uses that Stray Water move, Barraskewda comes in and cleans up for a couple turns, dedicated Rain Dance, need the Damp Rock, there's a lot of things, but once Swift Swim wears off, then that Pokemon can, like, fall under again, but Adamant Nature double speed doesn't even matter, because you're going to be super fast. Also, things taken into consideration with doubles, because if the opponent goes for Tailwind, or they're trying to get, like, their own speed boosting inside of it, Barraskewda is still going to be faster than them, because 136 speed! It's so wild. Like, if we compare Barraskewda to any other Swift Swim Pokemon, it just doesn't exist. So we can look at the speed. Yeah, let's sort it by speed. So the fastest Swift Swim Pokemon is Barraskewda. And then we have the next fastest with Floatzel, but less attack. What is the highest attack? Mega Swampert. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. Beartic. So let's look at Beartic. 130 attack. Not really much higher attack. Pretty much nothing on the speed. The speed doesn't matter. Doubling 50 base speed isn't going to do anything for you. And Swift Swim is only available through transfer. At the time of making this video, Pokemon Home is not out. So our first water type, wait. It's the strongest water type Pokemon with Swift Swim while being the fastest Swift Swim Pokemon. Game Freak went for the shenanigans, and even outside of the rain, like I said, comparing it to Weavile, it still hurts. It still has damage. This Pokemon is wacky. Further shown by some of the other things this Pokemon can do. So I don't think Poison Jab is like the best option. I prefer the Throat Chop. It's going to shut down Toxtricity as well as Sylveon. So I mean, you Throat Chop, if Sylveon was going for the Hyper Voice, that doesn't happen anymore. You got chip damage, and then you just transition to a same type attack boosted move, and you get to ruin that Pokemon's day. But Throat Chop is also going to be really good coverage against the Dragapult. Now, Dragapult is one of the few Pokemon that can outspeed you. But if you have Adamant Nature Swift Swim, you're outspeeding it anyways, and Throat Chop will have a very high chance of KO. Now, if you are running the Jolly Nature, then I guess the only thing you do there is Hope you already have the Rain to be outspeeding anyways, or you just Dynamax. Dynamax, survive the hit, use the Dark move, and then Dragon Bolt dies as well. Barraskewda, guys. Barraskewda can belly drum and become one of the best sweepers in all of Pokemon, as long as it's not going up against a special attacker. We have Stonjourner, and that Pokemon is kind of crazy on the defensive tankiness, but has nothing on special defense, and it's only meant to be used in doubles with its ability. So Game Freak has made very specific Pokemon, but it kind of adds, so like throughout all of Generation 8, there's a lot of different strategies represented, but it's only that one Pokemon to be used for that strategy. It doesn't really seem like there's any extra dimensions to any of the Generation 8 Pokemon. It's like, here's pretty much the only way to run it, but it's going to be the best Pokemon at using it in that specific way, but it also has a lot of vulnerabilities and weaknesses, because we look at it, it's still the regional fish Pokemon, so the base stat total has to be pretty low, and we see that in defenses, so this is all you get to do with it. But it still beats out a lot of other weird things. Like, this Pokemon feels like an Ultra Beast. In Rain, this is an Ultra Beast. And I think it kind of feels that way for some other Generation 8 Pokemon, where it's like, it can only do this, but then it's good. And outside of that, oh well. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's more creative or less creative on Game Freak's part, because if Barraskewda was any better at anything else, it wouldn't be able to be this overtuned in that one thing. So now Rain teams get a buff. And that's kind of like buffing more diverse strategies. So but it makes it to where like this is now a centralizing Rain team Pokemon. You have to Barraskewda in Rain, but it adds the viability, and it's also like, here's the Pokemon for this strategy. I don't know if I like it or not. It kind of makes it boring for the movesets and stuff, but it kind of adds diversity to the greater scheme of Pokemon. Individually, the Pokemon are very one-dimensional. The entire generation, a lot of different strategies that could have never been accomplished before have now been made available because of Game Freak. It's wild. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.